Hey there, welcome to the REI Conversion Podcast, where each episode we discuss strategies and digital tools to help you launch, automate, and scale your real estate investing business. Learn how to run your investing business remotely, find out ways to automate your business to better utilize your time, and learn what other successful investors are implementing so you can get to the next step closer to your investing goals. And I'm your host and founder of REI Conversion, Jessey Kwong. Hey, how's it going? It's Jesse here from the REI Conversion Podcast show. Today's episode is part 2 of the 21 biggest mistakes and lessons of 2021 from 21 different land investors. So I'm really excited to share with you the other half of people that I interviewed, including, I put myself in there. I thought I had learned quite a bit from speaking to a lot of other land investors. So I'm really excited to share my piece of advice and sort of mistake or lesson that I learned in 2021. As usual, this show is brought to you by REI Conversion. If you are looking for a system to centralize, to streamline, to automate, and to really scale your land investing business, look no further than REI Pebble. REI Pebble is all about streamlining your land business. From handling your mailing, to your seller and buyer leads, document generation, and a lot more. In fact, we're constantly launching new features every month to help you streamline and bring your land business into one centralized location so that you can run your business from one platform. This includes one of our latest mapping features. In fact, let's have a look at my screen right now. All right, so what you're looking at right here is where you're going to spend a lot of time. It's the property screen. This is the specific property screen. In fact, I'll take a screen back here, and you can see on this account here, I don't have a lot of properties here, but you can see that I've got 397 properties. I'm actually going to just go ahead and click into one of these properties. What I want to show you is our newest mapping tool. I'll go ahead and hit Edit Map. We just recently changed our mapping system from Google Cloud Services using Google Maps now to a full-on mapping system that allows you to see all parcel data here inside of Pebble. This saves you time from having to go to the county's GIS system or using other systems like our eGrid. You can see all the parcel outlines are made here, and when I click into a property, I can even pull up that property's information with the owner's information right there. There's a lot of exciting things that we can do with this as well, including changing into a 3D view with satellite, and even taking pictures for your marketing. In fact, one of the things we just recently mentioned on one of our update roundups is the ability to take this mapping system to the next level. We're talking easily lassoing and circling an area to send out mailing, all the way to automatically generated 3D images for your marketing, either for your website or for anywhere else that you're listing your properties. So if you're interested in REI Pebble, go ahead and head over to reiconversion.com/Pebble. Feel free to book a demo with me personally. Not only that, there's a free 14-day trial with no commitment. Other than that, please enjoy this show here for the biggest lessons of 2021. I hope you enjoy this episode. Cheers. Hey Sean, it's Jesse here from REI Conversion. What would you say is your biggest lesson or mistake of 2021 that you can share with others in the land space?
Good question that made me do some thinking today when you brought this up. And I came up with a lot of lessons and mistakes, and then I had to really sit back and go, okay, so what's one with the biggest impact? I think, look, for a lot of us, this was a great year because land prices were just going up like crazy. And so a lot of opportunity. And I think my biggest mistake was not planning for success. So I think I left a lot of money on the table. I left a lot of scaling on the table because I hadn't planned for success. And specifically, what does that mean? I would say it's things like getting all the automations that you could in place, refining your processes and systems so you can delegate and you can hire VAs. That sort of scaling is what I'm talking about. And funding, and that fact that I didn't plan for success means that I didn't grow as rapidly as I could have this year and take advantage of all the opportunities. So that's something I'm working on to make sure I don't repeat for 2022.
I love that, Sean. Planning for success. And would you say that's something you would do once, or you do that sort of as an ongoing thing?
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, that's another good follow-on. It never stops for sure. but for me, because I'm still relative to a lot of it, I'm still at the beginning of my land journey. So really, I got my legs under me in 2020. 2021 then was the first opportunity where I could pick my head up from learning the mechanics and executing to how do I make this a business that I'm working on instead of working in. And I worked in it more than I needed to this year because I hadn't planned on all the success that it brought.
Sean, I think we're all in that same boat together. I'm glad you shared that one with us. Hey, how's it going, Trevor?
Fantastic, Jesse. How are you?
Trevor, can you share with us your sort of big mistake or big lesson of 2021?
Absolutely. I've got a great one for you. 21 has been an interesting year, and one of the biggest mistakes I've made this year is not asking someone to visit the property or view the property before I purchased it. I work out of country. I work out in Canada. So a lot of times I don't get an opportunity to visit the parcels that I'm going to purchase. And that's a big, big mistake. I purchased this parcel of land without having someone view it. And it was literally a garbage island, like a garbage city. There was garbage piled up 10 feet high or more. And I was left with this absolutely horrendous parcel. And the county was sending me notices that this has to be cleaned up and they're going to fine me. It would have cost me a few $1,000s to get this removed. It was such a headache. Luckily for me, I was able to reverse the purchase.
Wow.
That in itself was a nightmare. But all it really took was to work with someone locally. Like I have a photographer within this county that takes photos of a lot of the parcels that I purchased. I could have easily asked him to pop on through, give me his assessment, maybe even take a few photos for me so I can understand what I'm buying before jumping and pulling the trigger and purchasing that property. So that would be my number one suggestion. I mean, you can visit Google Earth, Google Maps, but those images might be a few months old. Maybe they're a year old or not. And it definitely did not look like what I saw on Google. So, you want to make sure that you have someone pop on through and visit that property.
I love it. And the fact that you work with this photographer, I'm assuming this is someone you regularly work with. And like you said, you could have easily gotten them to, I guess, essentially do your due diligence. A lot of times, I think also real estate agents that a lot of people have relationships with as well end up doing a little bit of physical due diligence. And because land is such a model that you can do remotely, it's not easy for a lot of us to actually buy our properties or even anywhere near. Hey, Steve, it's Jesse here from REI Conversion. What would you say would have been sort of your biggest lesson or mistake that you learned from in 2021?
Sure. Yeah, and I just want to make sure mention that my wife Tonsha is here also.
Hey, Tonsha, how you doing?
Hey, Jesse, good. How are you?
I would say our number one mistake was thinking we could get away without mailing and scale the business through other means, partnering with people,
Buying wholesale,
that kind of thing. And that certainly can be part of your business, but you can't scale unless you mail. I didn't mean to rhyme there, but I did. There were months that we didn't mail at all, and then months that we did a few hundred. And now we're up to 5,000 a month.
I love it. I mean, that's important to kind of keep your funnel full. And that's sort of a key to scaling a business as well. So you guys are doing 5,000 mailings now a month.
Yep.
That's awesome. I appreciate you guys sharing that awesome tip with us. Hey, Sarah, how's it going? What would you say is a big lesson or a big mistake that you made this year that you can perhaps share with our listeners on the show?
Okay, I'll throw you a curveball since you just threw me a curveball. I'm gonna give you two that are top of mind. One that we just talked about was nurturing my sellers, which I've never done ever. I've always nurtured the sales side, but I've never bothered to really pursue the sellers. And I'm learning, particularly through just the change our economy has gone through this last year, how important that is. Because just to retouch, remail, re-engage, and what that has done for me. So that's something I'm changing going forward. Awesome. My curveball to you is overpriced mailers. That was such a colossal pain We recovered and were able to get some, but just learning the comps, learning how to use the different data systems and really map those out and study those in a way, a level of detail I've never done before, was a game changer for me.
So you're really getting down on that pricing and sort of really strategizing how you're actually pricing those properties out. Is that correct?
Yeah.
You're pretty
it used to be
specific.
more of a scatter it used to be more of like a scatter shot approach.
Right.
Now it's got to be more laser focused.
Hey, Megan, how you doing?
I'm great, Jessey. How are you? Well, the thing that sticks out to me more than pretty much anything else that I would want to share is not investing in outsourcing sooner. It's hindered the level of growth that I could have achieved this year. So definitely outsourcing would be the biggest mistake not doing sooner.
And I'm assuming you're sort of trekking down that path now then.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Well, let me ask you this, Megan, so people get a little bit of perspective. How far are you, how long have you been doing land? So we have a lot of new listeners that are going to wonder, okay, well, great, that means I should hire people, but how many years or how many months have you been doing this for now?
Sure. Yeah, I started in 2019. I've been I was pretty successful right off the gate in 2020, and I should have started outsourcing immediately. My goal was to outsource quite a bit in 2021, and I procrastinated. I let myself get too busy. I didn't make it a priority, and I probably could have made a lot more profit if I had done it sooner. So that would be, as soon as you start becoming successful, as soon as you start getting really comfortable doing deals, that needs to happen right away. Otherwise, you're just limiting yourself.
I love it. And if you guys don't know, Megan was on a previous podcast with me maybe almost a year ago, and how she scaled up so quickly with her business, and congratulations on doing so. But there's always challenges, and like you said, hiring out. And for those of you guys who are listening, if you head over to our homepage, reiconversion.com, head over to resources there and recommended tools. We do list some staffing services there specifically for land. Erin, how are you doing today? You actually work with a lot of different land investors with your land TC, and I'd love to get it from your perspective.
I feel like a lot of people probably say inaction, and mine kind of spins off of that a little bit. It's not really inaction, it's just kind of doing the same thing. There's a lot to say for the fact that, there's a ton of knowledge base about what we do and how to invest, and learning from all the people who have been through it and failed before. But I also see a lot of people who just, do the exact same thing every day and hit the same areas and don't really try anything new, or don't try to kind of make the business their own. And that's something that, I've done in my own business too, is just kind of, everybody says follow the process, but at some point I say through the process, you need to figure things out on your own. And that's kind of what I really see people fail at, is when they just try to do the same thing over and over again and don't try anything new.
Right. I love that. I think you're absolutely right. Once you know the foundation, once you understand the model, that's where, you look at your strengths, what you're good at, and start experimenting with different things, maybe with your strengths or different strategies that you might be interested in or you maybe got a hunch about, right? Is that sort of along the same path you're talking about?
Yeah, absolutely. And, land is a niche in of itself, but there's so many niches in here and different ways to target things. And I learn new things that people are doing every day. And I think that's exactly it.
Yeah, and I think this sort of really sort of drives us home, is that there's no one magic formula. And I think a lot of people are after that one magic formula of, hey, give me the exact model, that'll work, and I'm going to stick with it. But it doesn't work like that. Things change, things evolve, new strategies, and you've really got to sort of stay on top of yourself for making sure you continue to actually pivot and make those changes or try different things, as you mentioned. Hey, Callan, how's it going? What would you say was your biggest lesson or mistake of 2021 that you can sort of share with our listeners here?
Love it. I got 2 lessons. We're going to make them fast. First lesson is once you get a purchase agreement signed, it should go through a final due diligence process. So we were doing some DD before, and it was a little loosey-goosey, and we were not calling the county. Now, you can probably find some information online, county assessor, but you have to talk to somebody. Ask them, what can this property be used for? I want to confirm that it's buildable, confirm all the things that you've learned. I learned this really early in the training to do this, but call the county assessor, call planning and zoning, take that extra step, make sure there's no back taxes, no liens, talk to somebody. Rule number 2 is, yes, we've learned the hard way on that one, is not every county or area is a good area. And the reason why we test marketing in an area is to see if we get some good leads back. I wouldn't send a 20,000 mailer campaign to an area that I've never invested in before. Try to send 1,000. What did you get back? Did you get some good results? Are they saying like, oh, you're my 10th offer, you got to beat this guy? It's not always the worst thing in the world. But I've found that when we send mail, we market to 5 areas, usually 1 is the best. So I highly recommend, and once you find that area, go deep. Find the greatest realtor, find the greatest title company, talk to all the developers in that area, learn that area, because that's what we've been doing for the past year and a half. We've been in one area. We're slowly branching out to another one right now, but find your honey hole and test a bunch of markets, and don't feel like everyone needs to be your one.
I love that, Callan. So to repeat, make sure you do your due diligence even after signing the purchase contract or purchase agreement. And the other one was testing the market, really, rather than blasting out and spending all that marketing money on one new county. Test it out first before you spend more in that county and really dig deep in that county. Is that correct?
That's exactly right. Yeah, what's selling, what's not? Are there weird rules you didn't realize before? Like, is it hard to build? Maybe it's really hard to build and you didn't learn that before. So test it out.
Hey, how's it going, Kevin? Thanks for coming on the show. As the co-founder here and my partner here at REA Conversion, I thought it'd be great to have you sort of share your biggest lesson of 2021, maybe biggest mistake of 2021.
Yeah. So I was thinking about this a little bit, and I think land investing related. I had a few loans or terms deals default this year, and looking back on those, I sort of realized like the warning signs were there that this person was not probably as reliable as they should be. Like I pretty much suspected that something was going to turn out when I was negotiating with the
Right.
2 individuals. And so but at the time I was just like, I was so frantically trying to get rid of these properties. Like basically like the first person that showed up, they were like, asking, they were sort of raising a lot of red flag questions, like, please don't check my credit. like saying like, how low can I get my monthly payment and how long can I make this loan? And those things I sort of like were red flags at the time, but they were the first ones in the door. So I was like, okay, I got to get rid of these properties. And then it turns out that like I signed these deals, and then cash buyers would come in later and ask if they were still available, or like what seemed like much better potential terms deals would come through.
Right.
And so those 2 defaults happened, and I was just like I knew this was going to happen. And I should have just been more strict up front, not made concessions about certain things. And so that's what I learned this year, I think.
Yeah, maybe it's having sort of a preset of qualifying conditions that you have internally, or like you said, maybe waiting it out to see what else kind of comes your way. I mean,
yeah, I think for me from now on, I'm just going to set the terms deals ahead of time.
Right. And
I'm not negotiating.
Right.
Like, I'm not extending it out another 3 years to get your monthly payment down. I'm not going to do like, oh, can you do like half the down payment up front? I'm just going to set it. And like, if you can't do that, then come back later when you can.
Hey, Alicia, how you doing?
Hi, Jessey. I'm fantastic. How are you?
Good. I want to apologize to you and all our listeners. It got really cold recently. Anyways, I lost connection at my place, so I'm now sitting here at a cafe, and please excuse me for all the noise in the background here.
We're keeping it real, Jessey. We're keeping it real. Probably going to be your biggest lesson. The good thing is, and I'll say this with fingers crossed, we haven't had a huge amount of mistakes this year, but because we've always got that growth mindset of keep moving forward. But the biggest lesson is probably about momentum, and momentum being that the results you get today is not from what you did yesterday. The results you get today is from what you did 2 months ago, 3 months ago, 4 months ago, 5 months ago, and beyond that. We've had a lot of people come back to us this year, Jessey, that we marketed to like 6, 7, 8 months ago, and now they want to do a deal. So I guess my biggest lesson is momentum is not earned in the things you do today. It's from the things that you didn't do 6 or 7 months ago that make the big difference. So never stop moving forward and never stop marketing, because your marketing, I think a lot of people, my lesson, particularly when I'm talking with our supercharged offers customers too, the lessons that I'm seeing is, if you're mailing now and you're not getting the results, it doesn't mean that you won't get them later on when you keep retargeting and keep doing. So yeah, lesson number 1, momentum is earned in all the things we do all the time, not just the things that we do today.
I love it, Alicia. Thank you so much. And I actually spoke a little bit, about momentum as well, and how it can be a finite amount of energy that you want to get to momentum as quickly as possible too. And like you said, it can come down the line. So whatever you've done in the past, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, that can come back around and help you.
Definitely.
I like to look at momentum as almost a gas tank as well. So
yeah,
the more momentum you get, the better.
Hey, Jessey. Thanks so much for inviting me on the show, man. It's a real honor to be here. So for me, the biggest lesson that I learned in 2021 is that if you happen to have kids, especially if you have toddlers, your capacity and general availability is completely different than if you are single or if you're married without kids. It's just the reality. For a large portion of this year, I made commitments based on the degree of speed and performance that I was used to prior to having children. But you know what I learned? If your kids happen to be sick, or for whatever reason, they don't want to go to sleep, or they're in need of food or milk or some extra support in some area of their development, they don't give a rip about your deadline. They don't give a rip if you look like the world's biggest flake with those that you rub shoulders with in your career. This last year, failure and missed deadlines especially has taught me that as a parent, I now have another full-time job that requires a lot of intention, time, heart, and commitment, along with everything else I got going on in my life and work. Moving forward, I've come to recognize that I frankly have to be super conservative when it comes to deadlines and the commitments that I make. Life with kids comes with a lot of variables that can honestly derail any plans you have and any kind of productivity that you could hope for. And I need to factor in these potential variables into the equation when determining the timeline and commitment of a project. I need to take into account the possibility of a pattern disrupt due to the needs and demands of my 2 boys. If I don't do this, I will continue to miss deadlines and fail on following through on my commitments. So yeah, that was the biggest lesson I learned in 2021.
All right, so it's my turn to share my piece of advice and things that I've learned working with so many different land investors. That is that I've seen too many people try to automate their entire system right from the get-go. Now, I'm a firm believer in automation and integrations and getting things streamlined, but if you're not sure why you're doing it, don't do it. If somebody has fed you exactly what to do without knowing the reason of why to do it, hold back from doing so. Not that it's bad, but because you only have a certain amount of momentum. Now, this ties really into the amount of momentum you have, because setting up automation can take a lot of energy and thinking power. It's more important that you get to your results quickly than trying to automate everything right from the start. Remember, momentum is finite, especially when you're getting started. My advice is to just get started and get to momentum as fast as possible. The more results you get, the more momentum you can gain back. And that is hugely important for those of us that are trying to get our land business up and running. Avoid trying to spend too much time to go down one specific rabbit hole, but try to get yourself across that finish line. And this is where I see so many people, once again, get thrown into the trap of wanting to get everything automated from the get-go without really knowing their business model just yet. You want to have gone through the entire model a few times so you know where you come short at and where automation can actually help you out in. In fact, I suggest when setting up automation to start one automation piece at a time. Only bring in automations that you truly believe are going to help move the needle for you in your business. You will know what that is once you've gone through the entire cycle of flipping a piece of land. Remember, get momentum first, then iterate, and continue to build out your automated system. Before you stop this podcast or head to the next episode, I want to personally thank you for listening to this episode of the REI Conversion Podcast. If you found this helpful, we'd greatly appreciate an awesome review and rating on whichever platform you're listening to this on. And if you have 2 minutes and wanted to step it up even more and help others, feel free to share this in other Facebook groups or pages or any communities, giving others a heads up of the REI Conversion Podcast or this specific episode that may help them on their investing journey. Once again, thanks very much for listening, and catch you on our next episode.